Meanwhile, at the bunker, not having been told to delay the firing, a finger touches the fatal button. Although many miles from Bomb Zero, Dr. Bruce Banner is bathed in the full force of the mysterious gamma rays. The world seems to stand still, trembling on the brink of infinity, as his ear-splitting scream fills the air. This was the dramatic beginning for one of comic books' most popular and unique characters, the Incredible Hulk. 40 years later, the Incredible Hulk is as resilient as the company that created him, Marvel Comics. Owned by publisher Martin Goodman, Marvel was launched in October 1939 under the name of Timely Comics. The first books featured science fiction heroes, the Human Torch and the Submariner. Both characters offered an escape from the country's Depression-era anxieties.
Comic books, all in all, are a reflection of the times we live in. Especially then, they reflected fears, social economics, wars, and so on.
In the wake of Nazi aggression in World War II, Marvel introduced the ultimate superhero, Captain America, in 1941. Later that year, Marvel hired an ambitious 16-year-old high school graduate named Stanley Lieber. Lieber got his first writing assignment on the third issue of Captain America. The passage was entitled, Captain America Foils the Traitor's Revenge. Lieber signed it Stan Lee. The 1950s proved to be a creatively challenging decade for Marvel due to post-war issues of communism and nuclear weapons.
But the 1960s, that was the big time, because that's when we came up with characters like the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, the X-Men, Daredevil, and all the other characters which are now thought of as the giants of the Marvel galaxy. After having done our first of the Marvel line of books called the Fantastic Four, I was looking for something else that would be totally different. Then I remembered I had always loved the old movie with Boris Karloff, Frankenstein. And it always seemed to me that the monster played by Karloff wasn't really the bad guy. He was the good guy. He didn't want to hurt anybody. It's just those idiots with torches kept running up and down the mountains, chasing him and getting him angry. Then I remembered another favorite of mine, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And Dr. Jekyll was a normal man who turned into Mr. Hyde. So I combined Jekyll and Hyde with Frankenstein, and I got myself the monster I wanted, who was really good, but nobody knew it. And he was also somebody who could change from a normal man into the monster.
May 1962 marked the release of Lee's monster, the Incredible Hulk, and his alter ego, Dr. Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner is a scientist. He's working with gamma research. And our story is about the guy who is harnessing this incredible energy.
The important thing with any hero, the reader has to empathize with the hero, has to care about the hero. So when I wanted my normal character, Bruce Banner, to be the hero, and I thought I would let him become the Hulk in a very heroic way. There was going to be a test explosion out in some lonely field. Now, Bruce Banner, conducting the test, saw a teenager named Rick Jones. He heroically ran out into the field, grabbed the kid, tackled him, and threw him down on the ground, and the explosion occurred. And poor Bruce was inundated with all of those gamma rays.
Instead of killing him, the explosion left Bruce Banner with superhuman powers.
On the surface, it would seem as though the Hulk is a very simplistic character. He's just an angry monster. But there's really so much more to it than that, because he still has dim memories of his human self. In a way, hates Bruce Banner, because to him, Bruce Banner represents a weakling, whereas the Hulk is all-powerful. So there's that dichotomy within him.
And the tragedy of it, that when the Hulk comes down to be Bruce, when you see the carnage around, is the guilt of a very decent man who is looking around saying, I should have never let it out.
Stan Lee had developed a complex character in every way, from his behavior to his appearance.
Well, my first choice was Gray, because he was a monster, he's supposed to be scary, and I figured gray is kind of a scary color. But there was a problem. When the book was printed, the printer was having trouble keeping the color consistent. So I decided in my infinite wisdom, I'll change his color. And I looked around and tried to think what color is no superhero wearing at that time, and I figured green. Nobody was green that I knew of. So I said, okay, let's color him green. It was as casual as that.
After 6 issues, the Incredible Hulk began to appear in other books, such as the Fantastic Four and Tales to Astonish. As the Incredible Hulk continued to develop a loyal following, Marvel continued to exploit his various personality traits.
I stopped writing the Hulk after the first 20 issues. Now, after that, many other writers and artists did the strip. So over the years, the Hulk has changed. In some stories, he suddenly became very intelligent. You know, when I had done him, he could hardly speak. So he's been done in every way you could imagine.
Dr. Bruce Banner, belted by gamma rays, turns into the Hulk.
In 1966, the Incredible Hulk found his way to television as one of the stars of the animated series, The Marvel Superheroes.
Ever-loving Hulk! Hulk!
Dr. David Banner, physician, scientist, searching for a way to tap into the hidden strengths that all humans have. Then an accidental overdose of gamma radiation alters his body chemistry. When David Banner grows angry or outraged, a startling metamorphosis occurs.
Those were the words heard by millions of television viewers who tuned in each week to watch the live-action version of The Incredible Hulk. The primetime series began airing on CBS in 1978 and starred actor Bill Bixby.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
And bodybuilder Lou Ferrigno as The Incredible Hulk. In this version, Banner's name was changed from Bruce to David. The popular series created an entire new legion of Hulk fans, many who were unaware of the comic book.
There's almost nobody anywhere in the world who doesn't remember the Incredible Hulk, played by Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby. The thing that people like about the Hulk and the transformation is he would start to morph into the Hulk, and you'd see his shoulders starting to break through the shirt he was wearing. I can't tell you how people loved that one scene. Men and women, children, they would cheer when that scene would start. As scientifically oriented as I may be, as careful as I am with every scientific fact, I had trouble explaining how his pants stayed on. We cheated. We took the cowardly way out. He was wearing long pants. When he became the Hulk, we made the pants shorter, so his legs would just burst through, and we hoped that too many people wouldn't notice.
As in the comic book, the television series looked at Banner's turmoil, his internal rage, and his continuous search for inner peace.
It does give him the opportunity to know that he has a way to stop evil and do get involved in situations and just try and be a decent guy. Was always the fear that he may erupt and go over the top.
In 1982, after 5 seasons, the Incredible Hulk series was canceled by CBS. Stan Lee's enduring character had dominated the comics, Saturday morning cartoons, and primetime television. The only medium left to conquer was the big screen. The Universal feature film about the Incredible Hulk has been the most anticipated appearance of the superhero in decades.
You're gonna have to watch that temper of yours.
I feel like I have been researching to bring the Hulk to life for years. The great thing about everyone at Universal is that they didn't just want to make an action film. They wanted to make a film that explored character and drama and emotion. Because Stan Lee and Avi Arad were involved from the inception of the project through to the production and post-production of the film, there has been a great deal of awareness of what it is that the fans relate to in the Hulk. And we have been very, very careful of keeping true to what it is that makes Hulk great.
For the producers and writers, making The Incredible Hulk innovative meant implementing the latest developments in filmmaking wizardry.
Without the advances in technology, we couldn't have made the movie the way it will be.
So we had people helping us imagine what the Hulk would look like. Then we had great artists building sculptures, clay maquettes.
Now this is pretty much a CG model from the sculpt.
And from there, the geniuses at ILM scanned those maquettes into their computers and started the enormous and laborious work.
We were able to create a human creature, an organic creature with skin, with hair, with eyes, with tears, with sweat. Everything that a human being, good or bad, is now in this creature. So it's no longer a maquette brought to life. It's living, it's breathing, it's moving, it's falling, it's hurting.
The merging of the film's technology with the performances of its cast was the challenge for director Ang Lee.
I think it's time to bring the sophistication in public entertainment in the computer world. So you can invest your emotion into it, not just watching a creature go crazy, where in the back of your head you know they're CGIs. I want to see if I can break that barrier. And also it's a challenge to me, can I make Bruce Banner and the Hulk as one person? Instead of like the comic or the TV series, they're two actors or two different entities.
And Ang Lee was at the top of the list, and he was at the top of the list because of his body of work. He never seems to do the same thing twice. And it's the humanity in every one of his films that really spoke to us.
In the film, Lee stays true to the original themes of the Hulk's humanness and Bruce Banner's cutting-edge work in nuclear science.
Of course, we're gonna do gamma radiation, but I think Ang wanted something that went a little beyond that. In the 50s, of course, radiation was enough to create everything from giant ants to I don't know, murderous cereal flakes or who knows what. It was the explanation that worked no matter what you needed. But I think Ang thought that you needed a little more.
We're doing a contemporary piece, so we have to upgrade that. We still reserve the gamma exposure, but the gamma is more of a control factor to their experiment on this nanomat, those little molecular machines that does the curing and everything. So it's the two put together that unleash what's in there.
The very first thing that they wanted me to do was to come up with a kind of self-consistent explanation for the research that the scientist characters in the film were pursuing that would then lead to the accident that creates the Hulk. Ang very much wanted to know what would make a Hulk, and very specifically what happens is that the little nanomeds, as we've been calling them, go haywire in Bruce's body. They don't maintain an even balance between destroying damaged cells and replicating good ones. So it's a kind of organized cancer in a way, in the sense that they maintain the existing structure, and so you get a bigger and bigger and bigger guy, a Hulk guy.
In the film, Ang Lee uses the work of David and Bruce Banner as a metaphor for the difficult relationship between father and son.
Dad's working on super immune systems, human bodies that are capable of withstanding more, rejecting more, not being infected as easily. The son is working on the same kind of thing, but with a very modern kind of bent. He's trying to devise these little micromechanical U-boats, really, that are injected into the body and that swim around and repair damaged cells. So I think that kind of collision between those two generations of science is very interesting.
The popularity of Stan Lee's complicated character, the Incredible Hulk, is as strong today as it was when it first appeared in 1962.
It's one of these characters that you walk in the street, you show someone a picture, say, "What's that?" And they look at it and say, "Hulk." You know that this is a Hulk, and the Hulk is big, as mad, as raging, as everything, is the good guy. And that's great to have this giant, incredible ball of energy that is on the side of right.
I never imagined 40 years ago that I would be sitting and being interviewed and talking about this character and the fact that it would be the subject of a major motion picture, the fact that it would still be more popular than ever 40 years later. No, I wouldn't have imagined that in a million years.
The great thing about working with Ang Lee is it's not difficult to get great actors' attention. And then when you say Ang Lee plus the Hulk, of course everybody thought, well, that's bizarre. I better find out more about it.
It's so remarkable, I think, the way he looks at the world, you know. It's really lyrical sensibility.
He's very special, you know, there's no other word for it, and that's why so many people are interested in this film, and it's why so many people will go and see the film.
Ang brought in an entire sensibility and a focus on what is it that drives Bruce Banner? What is it that brings the Hulk to life?
He's incredibly brilliant, and at the same time, he's also very humble. And I think people see that in him and so just want to do things for him. Everyone wants to go the extra mile for him.
The whole combination of doing a superhero summer film, but from Ang Lee's perspective, is pretty exciting.
He was challenging me often to kind of go move outside of my own perspectives, and I always welcome that.
Action. 3, 2, 1, go!
This is my first Hollywood experience, so to speak, and is like the biggest movie Universal ever made. He's the first Marvel superhero who is a monster, is tragic and has a lot of complexity, psychodrama, so that's all good stuff for me. I call it my new Green Destiny. It's the enigmatic effort to put pulp culture, pulp art, with serious drama and try to make it work.
Action. Okay, 13 seconds. We are set for double exposure.
Just be a sec. Because I knew Ang was going to direct, I almost didn't dare come up with my own vision of what it may be. I just went in with my eyes wide open. It was interesting. I know Ang was at pains to really try and come up with some kind of tangible link with reality, even though we're in this kind of surreal comic book world. And I knew that Ang was visually doing that in so many different ways during the film. At times I wouldn't press him. I just wouldn't always want to know everything and just try and work on my own little world, knowing that you're in the hands of a master and someone who everything is where it is for a very good reason.
Action.
I must have seen you or known you.
I've seen comic book movies that sort of really play into, oh, this is a comic book, so we're going to make it kind of campy. And I think what I liked about Ang's approach is that he didn't want his central characters to feel that way. He really wanted them to be invested in what they were doing. And so my character, she looks like a girl that you would really see in a lab. You know, she's not like lab coat, hair up, glasses. You know, that version of it. It's really a more honest version of what a woman who worked in a lab in Berkeley would be. You know, he really played it as if this were a very serious drama.
Well, I got news for you. I didn't come here to see you. I came here to see my son. When Ang came out to the house and we sat down and talked, he said we could explore the darkness of relationship father-son. We were on sync. I think probably the moment we looked at each other.
I think bringing some realism is important to bring the audience into the world and believing it. It's just a path. It's not the end goal. Somehow you have to make it real to bring them in the first place.
Leaning back a little bit. You want to come back a little farther? You had your chest a little back.
I think Ang is an incredibly ethereal human being. Ethereal in the sense of that his ideas are floating in an ether above him and around him, that he's picking at them and expressing them and showing to you in a way that it's not quite definable. It's not like certain directors where you're able to say, oh, there's the idea and I'm being given this take on this character or this take on the way to play a scene.
I'm not sure you've got much of a choice. Come on, Bruce, aren't you feeling a little angry?
This role was unbelievable, and also serving a master such as Ang is a huge responsibility, and it's the fact that he chose me to help him with that vision. It's been a almost life-changing experience. It's certainly something I'll never forget.
I like it.
Ang had to become the Hulk for all of us, and he did. And on the set, he was able to communicate to the actors who the Hulk was and what he was doing, and the emotion and the drama and the power in every scene in which there was interaction with the cast and a digital creation.
Because we have to create a character from nothing, and I want to treat him like an actor, not a cartoon character. I want him to act as much as the rest of the cast act, who are good actors. I want to bring the realism, and the movie is very much rests on his shoulder. So it's very important for us.
A beat before.
It looks like when he threw it out, he was like.
I've loved Ang's films ever since Sense and Sensibility, and so I've really respected the fact that he can direct actors so subtly. And up to now, almost every computer animated character out there has been way too broad. So finally we're going to see an animated character really act like a real person. And that goes back to real life. All our animators are required to look at real life reference.
Sometimes it would be simply going from workstation to workstation, hundreds of animators at work on these computers at ILM, and going from shot to shot, directing everything from the flicker of an eyebrow to the movement of an earlobe, to Ang or stunt guys or whoever putting on the motion capture suit.
And most of the time we actually would get Ang. We'd stop him in the hallway, we'd bring him into one of our offices, we'd have Ang do the performance. When he has something in his mind and no actor in the world can get exactly what he's looking for, we just say, well, then, show us what you want and we'll get exactly that. You seem to do a bit of a pause before you then look at the father.
I thought it was too obvious.
Okay. I mean, you can change it up at this point anytime you want.
It's very hard, for some reason, to bring the realism of how he moves, the physics. So we need some kind of blueprint. I don't think we have that much time, so the quickest way to do it is me putting on a suit instead of directing someone.
Look out. Good therapy.
And action!
The purpose of motion capture is to get realistic animation data to drive computer-generated characters. When he's out there, it's a big deal. he's very serious about getting the performances. He apparently has a lot of acting experience, and he gets completely into character.
That moment was bad.
Okay, okay. He does know what he likes. He knows what doesn't work. He's very meticulous, but we have a whole team here very willing to make his vision come to life.
Hang in there.
Thanks working for his money today.
Normally the director is busy getting his next film going or working on the sound or the editing of the film that we're working on. But to have a director here is really great, and it's very important on this film because he's essentially directing the star of the movie. You know, one of the principles of the film, the Hulk, needs to be directed by the director, not by anybody else. You know, you ask for a performance and you refine it and you react to it and change it and you get the scene you want, whether it's Eric or Jennifer or Nick or whatever, and he's doing it, in this case, with us.
And action. And 1, and 2, and freeze.
With Aang, he has such a special vision for this picture. It's just amazing to watch the way he can pull performances out of not only the human characters, but working with ILM and saying, well, here's what I want to do for Hulk when he's in this. You know, he may have him just cringe up and do something really, you know, small and intricate, or something just, you know, really grand and large.
And action. And we cut.
To be working with a guy like Ang Lee and to see the way he can bring a just totally different spin to a comic book movie.
Daddy.
When I first talked to Aang, one of the things he said, which I don't know if he meant as a joke or not, but he said he was looking for the sound of green. And so we've been thinking about that. Right off the bat, he asked for signature sounds that would feel like the Hulk is deep inside Bruce Banner, but even before we see the Hulk. So I like that kind of approach.
Gary and I are both hoping to have this big sounding movie, but also have some interesting detail to it and some subtleties that you wouldn't really expect from a big object. In fact, the most interesting scenes, sounding-wise, in my opinion, are the subtle scenes when he's inquisitive with his eyes and breathing, and all that, you know, comes down to a very quiet moment. Aang and I and Gary discussed this to determine whether we should be giving Danny Elfman some cues on where he might want to hold back scoring the film to allow for those more subtler things.
I gotta talk to you,
As we worked together, his direction, it was much different than most directors I've worked with, because it was more psychological, internal, about the process and the characters. And he challenged me often to not sound like myself. So I'd be playing music and he'd go, no, that's too Danny Elfman, too Danny Elfman. And I really liked that.
Okay, Hulkamania.
One of the reasons that Aang is perfect for the Hulk is that on the one hand, he's the nicest guy in show business, and on the other hand, he's probably the most ambitious.
As this will follow,
trailers.
and
Visita
I
mi
will
canal.
kill the second beat, which is the top.
You can spend time in preparation with Aang and think, this is going to be a breeze, and then turn around and realize that you've just been talked into doing about 100 times more work than you ever thought you could produce in your life.
Well, that's involving everything, be personal, attending every aspect of it down to the very last detail is the only way I know how to make movie. It's just I don't know any other way to make movie. From the first small movie I did in New York, being the independent filmmaker, to Chinese film, that's the only way I don't know it. If I cannot personally attend, then I shouldn't do the movie. So the size of the movie ends on how much I decide I can be personal, put my hands on. I think that's important in filmmaking. Not that I'm a control freak, but I think all the elements have to be in one movie, one vision.